A luxury wedding, powerful guests, cameras flashing everywhere. Everything seemed perfect. But suddenly, silence took over the church. A 6-year-old child ran down the aisle, grabbed the cleaning lady's hand, and shouted before everyone, "She's the one I want as my mother." The millionaire froze, the bride lost the ground beneath her feet, and the truth exploded like a bomb in the heart of the elite. And now I want you with me in this story. Subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I want to see how far this story reaches, because what comes next will hold you from beginning to end. In the mansion with towering doors and silent corridors, a widowed millionaire tried in vain to fill the void left by his child's mother. Nannies came and went, all hired with impeccable resumes, but none managed to connect with the child. The little one shrank back from each of them as if something was missing, as if the heart sensed the absence of something money could never buy. Until on an ordinary afternoon, the unexpected happened. The child, with curious eyes, fixed on the humble figure of the cleaning lady who moved quietly through the corridors. Within seconds, he ran and threw himself into her arms as if he had found a safe shelter. The millionaire watched from a distance, confused, unable to understand why such a simple gesture carried such overwhelming power. The cleaning lady, caught off guard, didn't know how to react. Her eyes filled with surprise, mixed with a tenderness that seemed to come from far away. She wasn't used to being noticed, much less to receiving such trust from someone so far removed from her world. That embrace awakened feelings she didn't dare to recognize, as if a forgotten memory had been called back. The millionaire, restless, searched for rational explanations for what he saw. He was used to controlling complex negotiations, but here there was no logic. His son wasn't interested in expensive gifts, nor in the meticulously selected candidates. And faced with that scene, he realized that perhaps there was something greater than planning and numbers could explain. The child, content, nestled deeper into the cleaning lady's arms, as if he had finally found what he had been searching for. There was no luxury, no protocol. There was only presence, affection, and a warmth none of the other women had offered. It was as though he had found a piece of home, hidden in that simple figure who never expected to take center stage anywhere. Little by little, the atmosphere of the mansion began to change. The cold silence seemed to lose strength in the face of the child's smile. The cleaning lady, without realizing it, was becoming the center of a bond forming there, silent yet powerful. The millionaire, used to measuring everything in numbers, now faced something impossible to calculate. There was a subtle detail in the air, almost imperceptible, that caught everyone's attention. The naturalness of that encounter broke invisible rules of status and hierarchy. It was as if the child's heart had seen something hidden, something the adult's gaze couldn't capture. The presence of that woman, simple yet enigmatic, brought a sense of belonging that could not be ignored. At that moment, the mansion, once marked by rigidity, seemed to have been invaded by a new energy. The millionaire wondered who this cleaning lady really was. The child, smiling, wouldn't leave her side. The scene made it clear that a bond had been created, and nothing would ever be the same. But what seemed like just an unexpected meeting was about to become the root of something much greater. And when the businessman's wealthy fiancée discovered this connection, the fleeting calm would turn into fury. The news quickly spread through the mansion's corridors. The millionaire's wealthy fiancée, always accustomed to being the center of attention, heard about the episode and did not take it well. When she saw the child choosing the company of the cleaning lady instead of the carefully selected nanny, her pride was wounded. For someone who valued appearances so much, that was an affront. It was as if a shadow had stolen the light she believed was exclusively hers. The socialite, used to gracing gossip columns and gala dinners, carried ambition in every gesture. Designer dresses, flawless makeup, a posture that screamed superiority. But when she witnessed the scene, her elegant smile faded in seconds. Behind the refined facade, a fury surfaced that could no longer be hidden. Her eyes burned as if she had been betrayed by something far greater than a child's simple act of affection. She could not understand how a cleaning lady, someone who didn't even belong to the same social world, could win over the attention she so desperately craved. The millionaire had yet to notice his fiancée's intentions, but inside her a silent plan was already forming. A woman of humble origin would not be allowed to interfere with her ambitions. After all, her life had always been a chessboard of strategies, and this new piece had to be removed. The child, innocent, had no idea that a silent war had begun. He kept running through the halls after the cleaning lady, asking to be held, laughing with the carefree nature of someone unaware of social conventions. This simple behavior exposed the fiancé's inability to connect with him. No matter how hard she tried to smile or offer gifts, there was never the same authenticity. The fiancé, proud and vain, felt diminished. She could not bear to imagine the whispers of high society if they learned that a cleaning lady, nameless and penniless, had captured the child's heart. The fear of public humiliation only fed her anger. It felt as though not only her relationship with the millionaire was at stake, but her reputation as well. And for her, reputation mattered more than love or truth. Meanwhile, the millionaire watched everything without suspecting what was unfolding in his fiancé's mind. To him, she seemed like a beautiful, sophisticated woman simply bothered by jealousy, but he had no idea of the depth of the resentment growing within her. The cleaning lady, on the other hand, noticed the discomfort in the fiancé's eyes but chose to remain silent. She was used to enduring judgmental stares, and her life had taught her to carry that weight quietly. The fiancé's heart filled with comparisons. How could she, with all her luxury, lose ground to someone who blended into the background of elite gatherings? The wound to her ego was unbearable. Determined, she began to plan. It would not be an immediate outburst, but a delicate, calculated scheme designed to ridicule the cleaning lady before everyone. Her mind worked as if staging a grand performance, but the goal was cruel. In this new game, the millionaire was still the key piece. The fiancé knew that to secure the marriage, she had to preserve her image in his eyes. So her moves would be cloaked in kindness, smiles at dinners, sweet words in public, but behind it all, each gesture was preparation to bring down the unexpected rival. The cleaning lady might not even realize she was already at the center of a storm. Thus, what had seemed like mere jealousy turned into a project of vengeance. Once again, the mansion would become the stage for invisible battles, where status, pride, and power intertwined in every detail. And while the child remained innocent in his choice, the rich fiancée swore to herself she would not rest until the woman was gone. What she didn't know was that the bond between the cleaning lady and the boy held a far deeper secret, one that could change everything. The next morning, as the mansion slowly awakened, the child still clung to the cleaning lady. The millionaire watched, trying to decipher the reason for such an intense bond. There was something there that left him uneasy, as if his son's choice carried a silent message. It was more than simple attachment. It felt like a deep recognition. A mystery was beginning to take shape. At one point, the child said something that surprised everyone. He claimed he felt a mother's scent in the cleaning lady. The simple words echoed like thunder in the millionaire's heart. The cleaning lady, in turn, froze, her eyes welling with tears. It was as though she had been disarmed by the purity of that phrase. There was no way to control the impact it caused. The millionaire, ever rational, tried to brush it off, but couldn't. His mind spun in search of a plausible explanation. How could a child who had lost his mother so young make such a powerful association? The boy's intuition clashed with logic, leaving him deeply unsettled. Inside him, a troubling doubt began to grow. The cleaning lady tried to hide it, smiling faintly, but her expression betrayed her. It was a smile laced with pain, as if a distant memory had been touched. The child, unaware, kept repeating the same thing. "She smells like Mom." It wasn't just a phrase. It was almost a secret whispered through innocence. The millionaire felt the weight of it, though he couldn't fully understand. That detail, seemingly innocent, began to shift the atmosphere of the house. The staff whispered in the corridors, trying to make sense of what was happening. The fiancé, increasingly disturbed, watched from afar with narrowed eyes. To her, it was yet another reason for anger. How could she endure seeing the child associate motherhood with this simple black woman, 35 years old, who wasn't supposed to stand out? The millionaire, in silence, began to reflect. Could there be something hidden in the cleaning lady's past? His eyes searched her face for signs, details, any clue. Why was it that his son, resistant to everyone else, surrendered so naturally to her embrace? It was a question without an answer, but one filled with implications. The child, in his innocence, never stopped showing affection. He held the cleaning lady's hand, asked to be carried, called her to play. All of it came with a disarming naturalness, as if he had found someone who had always been missing. The millionaire tried to intervene, but it was useless. The bond was already formed, and no one seemed able to break it. The cleaning lady deep down knew that the comment was not mere childishness. Her heart raced, fearing the past would surface before its time. The tearful look she tried to hide betrayed a story yet untold, and unwillingly, she began to carry the weight of a secret that could not remain hidden much longer. By then, the mansion was no longer just a stage for social disputes. It had become the setting of something far greater, a mystery involving blood, memories, and unresolved feelings. The child's phrase was the loose thread of a much more complex web. And once that thread was pulled, nothing would remain untouched. The wealthy fiancé wasted no time in putting her strategy into motion. Determined to expose the cleaning lady before the elite, she began orchestrating situations where she could humiliate her in public. Every detail of the routine became an opportunity to show who was in charge. At dinners, she made a point of giving harsh orders, forcing the woman to serve drinks in front of everyone. The goal was clear: reduce her image to the lowest level. On one such occasion, during an elegant cocktail party, the fiancé called the cleaning lady to the front of the guests to polish a glass she claimed had been improperly cleaned. The entire hall froze for a moment, feeling the weight of the command. The black woman, 35 years old, wearing her simple work uniform, lowered her head and obeyed in silence. But at that exact moment, the child ran up to her and said loudly, "She's not a servant, she's my friend." The guests exchanged uneasy looks. Some smiled discreetly at the child's innocence, while others simply watched, unwilling to interfere. The fiancée, red with anger, tried to cover it with an artificial smile, but her pride had been wounded. The millionaire, in silence, only observed the scene, realizing that his son's stance was more genuine than any social etiquette. At another event, a family luncheon, the fiancée made sure to place the cleaning lady in the most uncomfortable position. Pretending kindness, she asked her to help set the table, fully aware that all eyes were scrutinizing the details of etiquette. But when a plate accidentally slipped and almost broke, the child once again stood up to defend her. "It was just an accident. You can't be mad at her." This behavior began to unsettle the guests. How could they explain such a strong bond between the child and the cleaning lady? With every attempt at humiliation, the fiancé was caught off guard by the boy's innocent defense. And paradoxically, the more she tried to destroy the woman, the more she drew attention to her. It was as if her own strategies turned against her. The cleaning lady, despite the embarrassing situations, remained composed. Her eyes revealed pain, but also a quiet dignity. She did not react with anger, nor with excessive submission. She simply accepted, like someone who knew that some battles are won with patience. This demeanor, in turn, awakened even more curiosity in the millionaire, who began to see in her an invisible strength. The fiancée, however, refused to give up. Each failure in her schemes left her more obsessed. She began planning even greater humiliations, using the media and social gossip as her weapons. Her mind was already plotting new ways to expose the cleaning lady before the entire city, never imagining that the child's innocence would continue to be her greatest obstacle. The game was only beginning. In the luxurious corridors of the mansion, whispers grew louder. The staff commented on the child's courage and the cleaning lady's patience. With each event, the tension mounted, as if everyone were waiting for the next clash. The millionaire, torn, observed everything in silence, but could no longer deny the stark contrast between the humble sweetness of the cleaning lady and the fierce pride of his fiancée. And so, the public humiliations, which were meant to weaken the cleaning lady, only revealed her humanity even more. The child's heart remained steadfast in defending her, as if holding on to a deeper secret. A secret that sooner or later would come to light and change the course of everyone in that house. With each passing day, the cleaning lady's presence in the mansion seemed more significant. She did not seek attention, yet her silence carried mysteries. The discreet glances, the pauses whenever the child called her mom, all of it suggested there was more to her than met the eye. The fiancé, always alert, began to suspect that the woman was hiding something, and that suspicion only fueled her fury. One day, in a conversation among staff, the fiancé overheard fragments of an old story. Rumors claimed that years ago, the cleaning lady had quietly moved in circles close to high society. Nothing concrete, just whispers, but enough to spark her curiosity. Who was this woman? How could someone so simple carry such an air of hidden belonging? The millionaire noticed it as well. At a dinner, He observed the way the cleaning lady arranged the table, a delicate, instinctive gesture worthy of someone well-versed in sophisticated etiquette. That was not something learned overnight. It was a remnant of another time, another life, one she was trying to conceal. This realization stirred even more questions within him. The child, unaware of adult secrets, continued to treat her with affection, as if sensing that their bond ran deeper than anyone admitted. With every hug, every innocent word, the cleaning lady seemed to break a little inside. She carried memories fighting to remain hidden, but her heart, confronted with the boy's purity, seemed unable to bear so much silence. The fiancé, determined, began to investigate. She spoke with acquaintances, pulled strings, used her influence to uncover any detail. Soon she discovered that the cleaning lady had been seen many years earlier at discreet events alongside influential people. Not as a guest, but close enough to raise suspicion. That revelation put her on high alert. The millionaire, unaware of these investigations, began to feel torn. On one side, his wealthy fiancée offered status, alliances, and a secure future. On the other, the black cleaning lady, 35 years old, gradually revealed a story wrapped in pain and mystery that echoed strangely within him. Her presence felt like reopening forgotten chapters of his own life. With each glance, each silence, the cleaning lady seemed on the verge of confessing something, yet she held back, protecting secrets that could shake everything. The fiancé, driven by insatiable ambition, had no patience to wait. For her, discovering the past was more than curiosity. It was a weapon, and she was ready to use it when the time came. The mansion, once merely a stage for veiled disputes, was now thick with tension. Everyone sensed that something greater was about to unfold. The millionaire, the fiancé, the cleaning lady, and even the child were all walking, unknowingly, toward an inevitable revelation. The pieces of the puzzle were beginning to align, and when that past finally surfaced, nothing would remain the same. Secrets buried for years would clash with present ambitions, and in the shadows, the fiancé was already preparing to turn that discovery into her most dangerous weapon. The millionaire was beginning to realize what he had always tried to avoid. Feelings cannot be controlled with contracts, nor measured by wealth. With every gesture from the cleaning lady, a contrast took shape before his eyes. She, with simplicity and sweetness, filled voids that all the mansion's luxury could never conceal. The fiancé, by contrast, displayed more and more selfishness. This silent comparison disturbed him deeply. During a dinner, he carefully observed how the child lit up in the cleaning lady's presence. His son's smile, rare since his mother's death, now appeared often. This transformation did not go unnoticed. It was as if this woman had the gift of bringing life back into the house. Yet the businessman feared admitting that this power awakened in him something more than gratitude. The nights became restless. While the fiancé slept in separate quarters of the mansion, he wandered through the halls, lost in thought. His heart was divided between the commitment he had made to the socialite and the growing affection for the woman who was not supposed to have a place in his life. It was a conflict that corroded his rationality. The millionaire, so used to solving everything practically, felt imprisoned by uncontrollable emotions. The cleaning lady, black and 35 years old, defied everything he believed about social classes. She had no fortune, no status, yet carried an inner strength that drew him closer each day. In her gestures there was dignity, even when she was the target of humiliation. And this made him question who truly deserved to stand by his side. The fiancé, meanwhile, noticed the change in his gaze. Her schemes no longer had the same effect, as the millionaire seemed increasingly distant. The shine she once monopolized was no longer hers alone. Though she tried to cover it up with parties and promises of prestige, the space the cleaning lady was gaining in the businessman's life became undeniable. This only fueled the fire of rivalry. In moments of silence, the millionaire recalled his youth, when he believed love was stronger than social conventions. Yet over the years, he had been shaped by the pressures of business and the image he had to uphold. The cleaning lady appeared now as a painful reminder of the part of himself he had lost, and the inner conflict became unbearable. The child, unaware of the adult's turmoil, continued to insist on the cleaning lady's presence. He asked her to join meals, to play with him, even to stay by his side at bedtime. This innocent desire became a dangerous bridge. It drew the businessman closer to the woman while exposing his growing disdain for the fiancé. It was a fine line he didn't know how long he could walk. The mansion's staff noticed. Whispers spread through the corridors. Talk of prolonged glances, loaded silences, casual encounters that seemed too frequent to be chance. The millionaire found himself exposed, vulnerable in his own home, confronted with something he could no longer contain. And the fiancée, increasingly impatient, sharpened her strategies. It was only a matter of time before this inner conflict erupted. The businessman stood at a crossroads: maintain the safety of a convenient marriage or risk himself for a forbidden feeling. His heart was already beginning to lean, but the coming war promised to leave no room for easy choices. The fiancée, now consumed by obsession, decided she needed to act more forcefully. Small humiliations had not been enough to drive the cleaning lady away, and the bond with the child only grew stronger. It was time to resort to darker methods. She hired private detectives to investigate every detail of the woman's life, convinced she would uncover something that could destroy her once and for all. The detectives, discreet and thorough, dug through old records, spoke with people from the past, and turned over every shadow they could find. The report, when finally delivered, seemed to hold exactly what the fiancé had been waiting for: a secret from the cleaning lady's youth, tied to mistakes and pain that were never meant to surface. To the fiancé, it was the perfect weapon. She smiled as she imagined the impact of the revelation before the millionaire and the entire city. The cleaning lady, black and 35 years old, sensed she was being watched. Her steps were shadowed, her gestures scrutinized. She felt the weight of unseen eyes upon her, but could not reveal anything. Her strength was in enduring silently, even as her heart raced with fear. She knew her past was a wound not fully healed, and she dreaded it being used against her. Meanwhile, the child, unaware of what was unfolding, remained glued to the woman. He ran into her arms, laughed loudly, and declared to everyone that she was his dearest friend. This innocence paradoxically exposed the fiancé even further. Each defense from the child weakened the accusations closing in, as though his purity formed an invisible shield around her. The millionaire, still torn, began to notice the tension building in the house. The whispers grew louder, the glances more suspicious. He, who had always controlled everything, now found himself a spectator in a shadowy game he could not fully grasp. The hints of an unknown past intrigued him, but also stirred unease. The fiancée, merciless, decided it was time to strike. She organized an elegant event, gathering the city's most influential people. Her plan was to publicly expose the cleaning lady, unveiling the secret the report contained. She dreamed of scandal, of disgrace, of finally banishing the woman who threatened her future. To her, this would be the ultimate victory. But something unexpected happened. At the height of her scheme, just as she was about to reveal the information, the child stepped forward, holding the cleaning lady's hand tightly. In a clear voice, he declared that she was his mother at heart, and that no one could speak ill of her. The hall fell silent. Guests exchanged glances, and the impact was devastating. The attempt at destruction backfired. Instead of exposing the cleaning lady, the fiancée exposed her own cruelty. The millionaire watched with a cold gaze, as if seeing for the first time the true face of the woman beside him. The scheme had collapsed, leaving behind an air of inevitability, that something much greater was still waiting to be revealed. The cleaning lady, overcome with emotion, held the child with tears in her eyes. Her past remained hidden, but the strength of that bond was now visible to everyone. The war was far from over, but the fiancée had just lost her first great battle, and that loss would only make her more dangerous. From that day on, the child refused to part from the cleaning lady. He wanted her by his side in everything, at meals, during lessons, and even while playing in the mansion's gardens. This childlike insistence, brimming with affection, created a bond impossible to ignore, and, against all social logic, the millionaire began to give in to his son's wishes. The woman's constant presence in the household's intimate spaces changed the entire dynamic. The millionaire, who once regarded her as a mere employee, began to notice her demeanor more closely. There was delicacy in every gesture, firmness in every word, and a patience that sharply contrasted with the fiancé's temperament. That comparison left him increasingly divided. The boy, smiling, asked the cleaning lady to read him stories before bed. At night, the millionaire would find her sitting by the bedside, softly lit by a lamp, while the child drifted peacefully to sleep. This scene, repeated time and again, etched itself into his heart. It was as if little by little the figure of a mother was being restored to the home. The fiancé, noticing the growing intimacy, fell into despair. She could not stand seeing the child calling the cleaning lady to share every important moment. She tried to interfere, offering expensive gifts or inventing activities, but the boy always refused. The difference was glaring. While the cleaning lady's love was genuine, hers seemed like a poorly rehearsed performance. The millionaire too began to draw closer, almost without realizing it. He spoke with the cleaning lady during breaks, asked about her life, listened to her answers with an interest he hadn't felt in years. She, shy, replied cautiously, careful not to reveal too much. Yet there lingered a subtle tension, a connection that grew even in silence. The staff noticed this closeness. They whispered through the corridors that their employer was changing, becoming more human, more present. This transformation was not just the child's doing, but also the quiet influence of the cleaning lady. The once distant millionaire now revealed expressions few had ever seen. A genuine smile, a warm gaze, a silence filled with meaning. The fiancée, increasingly unsettled, began to lose control. Her attempts to keep her fiancé's attention faltered in the face of the affection that blossomed in the house. The fear of losing everything, status, marriage, and power, consumed her. Within her, a new fury was being born, determined to destroy what little remained of her rival. The child, unaware of adult dramas, remained the link between both worlds. His laughter, simple words, and spontaneous gestures strengthened the cleaning lady's presence and drew his father closer to her without effort. It was as if the boy's purity itself was the force tearing down social barriers and exposing the fiancé's fragility. The silence of the mansion seemed to hide an old weight, as if the walls themselves held secrets about to surface. The millionaire, intrigued by the intensity of the bond between his son and the cleaning lady, began to investigate on his own. He sifted through old memories, searched forgotten records, and little by little the pieces of the puzzle began to align. The truth he had always avoided could no longer be delayed. One night, in the midst of his search, he stumbled upon a name that sent chills through him. It was the cleaning lady's name, appearing in documents from many years ago tied to a painful period of his life. The impact was immediate. Memories of a past filled with difficult choices, mistakes, and encounters that had marked him deeply. She was not a stranger. She was someone he had once known under dramatic circumstances. The cleaning lady, black and 35 years old, realized she could no longer hide. Her eyes could no longer mask the weight of the truth. Finally, standing before the millionaire, she let slip words she had guarded for so long. They had crossed paths years earlier, when both were young and life had forced them down opposite roads. Her voice trembled, but her resolve showed the courage to expose her pain. The millionaire was stunned. He remembered a time when his life was not governed by luxury, but by struggles and dilemmas. He remembered her, remembered how their destinies had briefly intertwined in a world of suffering. It was a piece of his story he had tried to bury, but now it resurfaced with force right before his eyes. The child, not fully understanding, simply watched in silence. For him, the revelation did not seem strange. On the contrary, it confirmed what he had already felt in his heart. That woman was more than just a cleaning lady. She was part of his life in an inexplicable way. His innocence became the key that made the secret easier to bear. And in this setting of forbidden affection and growing rivalry, the mansion became a stage of conflicting emotions. With each passing day, the millionaire drifted farther from his fiancée and nearer to the woman who, silently, was winning his soul. But the war was far from over, and the fiancée, now desperate, was preparing her most dangerous move yet. The fiancée, upon discovering the truth, exploded with rage. To her, it was unacceptable. Rivalry had been bad enough, but now there was also a history binding the two together in an unbreakable way. Her plan to destroy the cleaning lady grew harder to carry out, for the truth could not be erased. Her resentment deepened, transforming into open hatred. The millionaire, torn between pride and regret, began to see the cleaning lady differently. She was not only the woman who had won his son's heart, she was also part of his own journey. The shared pain, the fragments of memory, all returned as though fate were demanding a long overdue reckoning. He felt he had to choose between running away again or facing the past. The cleaning lady, emotional, made it clear she sought neither revenge nor recognition. All she wanted was to survive to protect her dignity and to care for the child who had chosen her so purely. Her simple words touched the millionaire's heart, leaving him unable to pretend indifference. He saw in her the strength he had never found in his fiancée, and so the truth about the past came to light. A revelation that not only bound the cleaning lady and the millionaire, but also gave new meaning to the child's connection with her. The mansion, once a stage for appearances, was now witness to secrets revealed, old wounds reopened, and a war only just beginning. And in the face of this new reality, nothing could remain the same. The revelation of the past was the spark that ignited the fiancé's heart. For her, there was no longer room for patience or subtle strategies. If once she had hidden behind fake smiles and calculated gestures, now it was clear. She would do anything to destroy the cleaning lady. The millionaire's love and the child's innocence were, to her, intolerable obstacles. Determined, she began to wield more dangerous weapons. She would turn to the media, spreading rumors and twisting truths. Her contacts in high society were quickly mobilized, and within days, gossip columns were filled with whispers. The cleaning lady had a shady past. She was after the businessman's fortune. She was nothing but an opportunist. The masks were falling and the war had gone public. The mansion became a silent battlefield. On one side, the black cleaning lady of 35, striving to maintain her dignity in the face of slander. On the other, the wealthy fiancé, armed with sharp words and veiled blackmail. The millionaire at the center of this clash felt the weight of outside pressures, but also the undeniable truth. His heart no longer sided with the woman of luxury and vanity. The child, not fully understanding the invisible violence, suffered as he saw the cleaning lady attacked. He defended her whenever he could, with innocent words that shattered the fiancé's cruelty. Each statement was like an arrow, revealing the purity that clashed against adult manipulation. His small voice became the strongest resistance to the declared war. The fiancée, blinded by hatred, escalated her tactics. She blackmailed influential figures, manipulated situations, forged evidence. Her goal was not simply to drive the cleaning lady away, but to annihilate her completely. It was as though she had abandoned every trace of humanity, driven only by fear of losing status, power, and a marriage already crumbling. The millionaire began to see the differences clearly. While the fiancé sank into lies, the cleaning lady stood firm, enduring the attacks without stooping low. The strength of this simple woman impressed him more than any display of wealth. The contrast was so glaring that even guests and close friends began to doubt the fiancé. Her mask was slipping away before everyone's eyes. The war could no longer be hidden. At dinners, parties, and social gatherings, all eyes turned to the trio. The tension was palpable, and every gesture became fodder for whispers across the city. The millionaire understood he needed to decide. Continue projecting the illusion of a perfect marriage with his fiancée, or embrace the risk of standing beside the cleaning lady. The child, as if sensing the weight of the moment, pleaded even more insistently for his father to protect the woman he called mother. His innocent heart seemed to know the future hinged on that choice. His small, earnest voice became the final call for the millionaire to face the inevitable. And so, the declared war took on its final form. Love, truth, and innocence stood against ambition, deceit, and hatred. The fiancée prepared her cruelest strike. The millionaire was forced to look into his own heart, and the child became the key to a destiny no one could control. The climax was drawing ever closer. The big day was approaching. The mansion was filled with luxurious preparations, expensive flowers, tailored suits, and invitations spread across high society. Everything appeared flawless to the outside world. The millionaire's wedding to the wealthy fiancé would be the event of the year. But inside him, the conflict grew like an unbearable weight. Between duty and heart, he was about to be forced to choose. The cleaning lady, black and 35 years old, kept herself apart, performing her duties with dignity. Yet there was no way to hide the strange atmosphere that lingered. She felt everyone's eyes on her, some filled with disdain, others with curiosity. Deep down, she knew this wedding was not merely about social alliances, but about a battle of souls. And she, unwillingly, was at its center. The fiancée, radiant in her role, flaunted calculated smiles and the poise of a perfect hostess. But behind the flawless makeup, she concealed her fear of losing everything. Her obsession had grown so deep that she no longer saw the wedding as a union, but as a war to be won. She was determined to keep up appearances no matter the cost. The millionaire, meanwhile, was consumed by recent memories. The child running into the cleaning lady's arms, the innocent words that revealed true love, and the secrets of the past finally unveiled. Everything pushed him toward a decision. The problem was that his choice would not only change his life, but the lives of everyone around him. The 6-year-old child had no doubts. To him, the cleaning lady was already his mother. He held her hand tightly, called her to share important moments, and told his father without hesitation, "She's the one I want with me." That purity was a direct call to the truth. And though many tried to ignore it, it was impossible not to feel the strength of a choice made by a child's heart. The guests were already whispering in the background. Rumors spread that the millionaire was torn, that something greater was looming over the wedding. Some bet on the fiancé's victory and her social influence, while others murmured that the improbable might happen. The atmosphere was thick with expectation, as if everyone knew something extraordinary was about to unfold. The cleaning lady silently battled against her own heart. She had never wanted to stand between them, but life had placed her there. She felt her dignity was at stake, along with the future of the child who had chosen her. It was impossible to pretend there was no love, though unspoken, growing stronger each day between her and the millionaire. The fiancé, alert, noticed her fiancé's fragility. His tense gestures, his pauses, his lingering glances toward the cleaning lady. She knew she was losing ground, but still believed that, in front of everyone, he would not have the courage to defy convention. She bet that social pressure would be enough to keep him by her side. And so, at the edge between duty and desire, the millionaire found himself facing the hardest decision of his life. On one side, the perfect wedding, the status, and the safety of a planned future. On the other, the truth, the child, and the simple woman who had captured not only his son's heart but his own. The final choice stood before him, and there was no more time to run. The silence inside the church was almost unbearable. Guests, onlookers, and journalists anxiously awaited the I do that would seal the perfect union between the millionaire and the wealthy fiancé. But the tension was evident. Everyone sensed something was not right. The groom's distant gaze betrayed the weight of a choice that could no longer be postponed. At the altar, the fiancé forced a smile. Her painted face concealed the fury and fear of losing everything. She clutched the bouquet so tightly the flowers seemed crushed in her hands. The millionaire, standing beside her, kept his composure, but his heart was elsewhere. Each second felt like an eternity. Then the unexpected happened. The 6-year-old child, fair-skinned with straight brown hair, ran down the aisle and, before everyone, grabbed the hand of the black cleaning lady, 35 years old. With a firm, innocent voice, he declared, "She's the one I want as my mother." The silence that followed was absolute, as if the world itself had stopped. The guests exchanged bewildered glances. Murmurs spread, followed by stares of shock and disapproval directed at the fiancé. The scene was impossible to ignore. The child's purity had cut through the facades and exposed the truth before all. The power of his words was more devastating than any scandal. The cleaning lady, overwhelmed, tried to step back, but the boy held her hand tightly. Tears streamed down her face, revealing a mix of fear and hope. She had never wished to stand in that place, yet there was no denying it now. The truth stood before everyone, undeniable and radiant. Her dignity, tested by humiliation, now shone with intensity. The millionaire, eyes glistening, made his decision. He left the altar, walked to the child and the cleaning lady, and embraced them before the crowd. The gesture was simple yet powerful. It was the final choice. Social conventions, status, and appearances collapsed in a single movement. The truth had finally prevailed. The fiancée, stunned, dropped the bouquet to the floor. Her face twisted with rage, revealing the collapse of all her plans. Cries of indignation burst from her lips, but nothing could undo what had happened. Her defeat was public, and the mask she had worn for so long shattered before an astonished audience. The guests, once complicit in the social charade, now murmured in support of the child and the cleaning lady. The moment was no longer about gossip or appearances, but about genuine love. Many wept quietly, moved by the boy's gesture. That instant became unforgettable, marked as a rupture against the hypocrisy of the elite. And so, at the altar meant to celebrate a perfect marriage, a new truth was born. Secrets were revealed, alliances broken, and futures rewritten. The cleaning lady ceased to be merely an employee. She became part of the family before all. A story marked by pain and struggle ended with shock and opened the path to an unexpected destiny. And at that altar, where everyone expected a perfect wedding, the unexpected happened. The child chose his heart's mother, the millionaire set appearances aside, and the cleaning lady, once invisible, became the center of it all. Luxury, conventions, and social masks collapsed, revealing that truth, when it's pure, always finds its place. The war ended in shock, but also in liberation. Now I want to know from you, if you were in the child's place, would you have the same courage to speak your heart out loud? And if you were the millionaire, would you have the strength to let go of appearances in the name of true love? Write down in the comments if you'd like to see a part 2 of this story, because the future of these characters may still hold many surprises. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell. That way you'll keep following powerful, emotional, and transformative stories that will inspire you to reflect, and maybe even change the way you see life.